Welcome to the show. It's so good to be back on the bonus show today. I'll give you some of the highlights and lowlights from my trip. And also, we'll talk a little bit about what's upcoming, new stuff going on with the book, and more. But we must talk about inflation. I need to call your attention back to when Donald Trump said that inflation would disappear the moment that he would get back into office for a second term, that prices would, of course, plummet because he and only he knows how to fix the economy, even though people who knew how to read numbers looked at inflation data and said, it sort of looks okay. What is there really to fix? And then when Trump said, I will do tariffs and I will do mass deportations, people who understood basic economics said, but if you deport workers and you add an import tax, which is what a tariff is, isn't that going to push prices up rather than down? Well, it turns out that it was yet another Trump lie because inflation just jumped higher than anyone in the economic world expected. And the kicker, of course, is that the specific things that Donald Trump promised that he would fix, food prices, eggs, etc., are some of the biggest drivers of inflation going up. So let's break it down. We have the latest numbers from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and consumer prices are up 0.5% in January. In other words, it's February 12th. We got the January numbers, and prices are up, and this pushes inflation year over year up to 3%. Now, I know what many of you are saying. Wasn't Joe Biden president for part of that time? Who can really expect prices to come down so quickly? Why are you talking about these specific categories when some of the reasons these categories are up doesn't have anything to do with Donald Trump? Well, we're only 2 minutes into the show. Give me a little time to lay it out. But the Dow Jones estimate was that inflation would be up 0.3%. It was up 0.5%. If you exclude food and energy, two things most Americans actually care about, core inflation is actually even worse. It's up 3.3% year over year. So what's the translation here? The translation is that everything is getting more expensive, and the trend is very clearly moving in the wrong direction. Now, we're going to dig into eggs a little bit more deeply in a moment. I don't mean I'm going to tell you all the different ways you can cook an egg, although that would be an interesting episode. We're going to dig into egg prices a little more deeply in a moment, but rents continue to go up. And where it really hits home is that food prices overall are up, and they are up over the last month in the biggest jump since 2015, about 10 years ago. So if you've noticed that over the last month, your grocery bill hasn't gotten any more affordable, you're not imagining things. That's what's going on. So let's now dig into the effect that this is going to have, because Wall Street very clearly knows that Trump's promises maybe are not going to come to fruition. And as of this moment, as I am recording, we see that the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down nearly 400 points based on these new inflation numbers. All of this is happening while Trump and his billionaire buddies are continuing to say, oh yeah, we are and are going to bring prices down. Everything's going to be great. The stock market's not buying it, because as soon as the numbers came out, the futures crashed 400 points, bond yields shot up, and investors looked at the reality of the situation, Trump 2.0, and said, we don't buy that overall macroeconomic underpinnings are going to get better for the average American. The Federal Reserve is saying we probably are not going to start lowering interest rates anytime soon because we don't believe that it is the appropriate time to do so. And then from Trump, we hear basically silence and then a little bit of hedging, which I will talk to you about in a little bit. No real solutions, same tired slogans. So the reason that this is important is because this is all the primary promise economically that Donald Trump made during his campaign. His economic pitch in 2024 was he's going to fix prices. He'll get into office. Prices are going to come down because he'll be tough on China and we're going to have growth and energy dominance and business expertise. Instead, prices are going up. The market isn't liking it. People are working and getting squeezed. And let's not forget that in Trump's first term, he blew up the deficit with his billionaire tax cuts, deregulation that did nothing to help the economy, and sort of a preview of the chaotic trade wars that he seems determined to do in term number two. More corporate tax cuts, more handouts for the ultra rich. Elon Musk seems to be in charge of the federal government, which of course I'm going to touch on a little bit later. And it's a guy who doesn't seem to understand how the economy works beyond his own bank account, and everybody pays the price. So if the Trump economy 2.0 is going to be Trump following through on the things he did in the first term, but macroeconomic indicators were good enough that it didn't do that much damage in the first term because of the insurance of a generally better environment pre-COVID, we can expect things to not go so well. My question is, will there be accountability? Will Trump supporters admit this guy doesn't really have any idea what he's doing? I don't know. And also let me know in the comments or via email, info@davidpakman.com. Are you feeling the impact of Trump's economy yet? Let's now talk a little bit about eggs. Once again, we're seeing big tech blur the lines between private industry and public government. Zuckerberg, Bezos, even Sam Altman at OpenAI are donating millions to Trump's inaugural fund because they say he'll lead our country into the age of AI, despite these same tech CEOs warning about how dangerous AI can be. Algorithms control what we see every day to serve corporate and political interests, which is why I've trusted Ground News for years to help me find the truth. Ground News doesn't tell you what to think. They show you each news outlet's biases, credibility, financial incentives, so you know who's benefiting from the way each news outlet spins each story. You can even filter out certain sources you don't want and stay informed without getting buried in the noise. Stay engaged with Ground News, who is fixing what is breaking right in front of us: trust and transparency in the media. Ground News is giving my audience 50% off the same Vantage plan that I use. Go to ground.news/Pakman. The link is in the description, or scan my QR code.